this thing actually gonna rip faces? And I think we need to spend some time talking about that today. If you're not in the market, or if you don't have as much exposure as you want in the market, the question is, should you be getting into the market now, or should you be waiting? That's one of the things that I want to talk to you about. Also, if you are in the market, and specifically if you're in tokens like 𝗬𝗎, that's up nearly, I think, 80% in the last couple of days. So it's that, yeah, 𝗬𝗎's up 80% in the last couple of days. Or if you're in Sonic, or if you're in WorldCoin, or if you're in the Trump official coin, when is it the best time to sell these coins? Because I think the time to sell those coins is actually coming up like pretty soon. That's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about whether we should be getting into the market now if we're not in, and if you are in those coins, should you be holding those coins or should you be selling those coins? So listen, if that sounds good to you, here I am at Token 2049 and I still bring you crypto love and crypto wisdom every single day. Hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed, obliterate the like button, and let's get the show on the road, guys. I see a lot of people in the comments complaining that I'm here a little bit late today, 5 minutes late today. If only you guys knew what I needed to do to get you guys a streaming setup in the hotel. If only you guys knew what this thing actually looked like. I'll drop a picture on Twitter so that you guys can get an idea of what this thing actually looks like. But anyway, here I am at Token 2049, or prepping for Token 2049. But still here, bring you crypto love and crypto wisdom. I think we're going to talk about a lot of things today. I think the big question is, a lot of people right now feel like they've been sidelined. If you are one of those people that feels like you've been sidelined, the question is, should you be buying now or shouldn't you be buying now? I think that's the biggest thing that I want to address right now. And then also, let's talk about what to sell. So for example, if you are holding tokens that have run, question is, should you sell them? Like if you've got 80% up on 𝗬𝗎, is it the time to sell it, or is there another leg up here? Same thing with Trump. If you did catch the Trump coin trade, or if you just want to catch the short, when is the time to actually be shorting this thing? Same thing with Sonic, same thing with WorldCoin, same thing with a whole lot of other tokens. So let's talk about all of those things, and let's talk about pretty much where we are in the market. So again, if you haven't already obliterated the like button, just obliterate the like button. That's what gets this show out there. And as you can see, I'm going through a lot of effort to bring you guys amazing shows, even while we're here at Token 2049. And I'll try and do a show for you guys every single day, except for the day of Token 2049, because I think that I'm doing a keynote speech at the same time that my show would be on. And if you are at Token 2049, I've got an amazing keynote that I'm doing around why some tokens succeed and some tokens fail. And I think I've really dug deep into what makes some tokens succeed and some tokens fail. If you wanna catch me live, I'll be live at the 𝗙𝗵𝗄𝗃 on day one. I think it's at about 4 o'clock. But I'll send you guys the details. Also, the details will be on my Twitter. Anyway, let's get going with the actual show today. And I think, if you look at the bubbles, it's green. It's green, baby. It's green. Lots of green bubbles. I see the Pengu army is out in full force. I'll show you. You can actually see it over, I think I've got it somewhere here. Hold on, let me try and find it for you. But I did see the Pengu. So you can see, if you look at the Pengu platoon, the Pengu platoon's out in full force. There's a lot of shilling of Pengu happening. It looks like they want to run this thing up. If you want to try and catch a little bit of this trade, it looks like Pengu. There's the army, 𝗙𝗏𝗏 in this army, and a whole lot of others are chilling it. Monero running because of a hack. Actually, someone hacked like 3,000 Bitcoin. You can see that from this 𝗙𝗥𝗏𝗏 tweet, or there is a 𝗙𝗥𝗏𝗏 tweet somewhere, where, here we go, 9 hours ago, a suspicious transfer was made from a potential victim for 3,520 Bitcoin. And obviously the hacker is laundering the Bitcoin. And while he's laundering the Bitcoin, he's buying Monero to launder the Bitcoin. So that's driving up the Monero price. I would go short here. If you let's just quickly look at this. If you are in Monero, I would actually take a look at taking probably a short at it went up to 347. So it has started coming down again. Probably not worth the short anymore, to be honest. Probably not. The risk return is probably not worth it anymore. There was a short earlier, and I did mention it on the front runners research call. We'll talk about some other altcoins that are running and what should be running. Let's just actually go into the second 100 just to see what else is running. Deepbook running ahead of the 𝗬𝗎 conference. AI16Z running because of the AI agents running. We'll talk about all of those. I do want to talk about Bitcoin. So after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks of closing below the bull market support bands. We now have a close above the bull market support band. So in bull markets, you do sometimes go below the bull market support bands. And specifically, when you're looking at the weekly chart, you want to try and break over the bull market support bands as quickly as possible. And we did that. So we broke up above the bull market support bands. We're back at about 95,000. We also had like a very, very, very big change in momentum last week. So I don't know if you guys were paying attention, but not only are we now above the bull market support band, but just look at the ETF inflows last week. Over $3 billion went into the ETF inflows. You had about $1 billion here, you had about $1 billion here, and then if you combine the other 3 days of the week, you had about $3 billion flow back into the ETFs. Now, part of that is retail sentiment, or retail investors and institutional investors actually starting to come in. Part of that is that there's the carry trade into the ETFs. In other words, buying the ETF and shorting the futures on the ETF is yielding positive. Both of those happen in markets when the market is actually bullish. So there is a bullish momentum that's come into the market. Also, I saw this tweet and then I checked it out. Lots of stablecoin balance flowing into the market. I think like $5 billion of new stablecoins actually being minted or flowing into the market. And then also good news for altcoins. Like if you look at altcoins, you can see there's a lot more green. That's a good sign because it shows that altcoins are starting to respond to the Bitcoin move, which means that the market's getting a little bit more momentum and confidence in the Bitcoin move. So you get momentum and confidence in the Bitcoin move, which causes the altcoins to actually start moving, and that breaks the trend in altcoins. You can see on the daily and on the weekly, Total 2, which is the altcoin indicator, also had a weekly close above the trend line, the downward trend line that it's been on since December. So for all intents and purposes, we seem to have broken the downward trend, right? So we seem to have broken the downward trend. And I think the reason why we've broken the downward trend is a lot to do with the trade wars, right? So it looks like the trade wars have largely started to calm down. The biggest trade war or biggest tariff issues are the Chinese ones. And to that end, China says that they haven't started to negotiate yet. But 𝗙𝗏𝗏 says that because China will have a stop in their economy, they are under more pressure to finalize a trade deal than the US is. And so, I mean, if you listen to the media reports, and I really don't know who to believe at this stage, but it seems like they haven't actually started talking to China. But Besson is counting on the fact that China will need to, because they will start feeling it in the economy first, then that'll happen. He also says he's teasing the fact that a trade deal may be coming out as early as this week or next week. Now that trade deal is probably quite a big trade deal. So who would be a big trade deal? India would be a big trade deal. Vietnam would be a big trade deal. Japan would be a big trade deal. I don't believe that at this stage of the game, the US would announce a small trade deal first, right? The US wouldn't announce a small trade deal first. I think they would focus on announcing quite a big trade deal as the first deal. And so that's, I mean, right now the S&P is flat. It's waiting for some announcements on a trade deal. Someone says China is not coming to the party. It sounds to me like the US is not coming to the party, or there is no trade deal at the moment. What there is this week though is quite a big week. So I'll explain to you why it's quite a big week. So there's a couple of things that are coming out this week that are quite important. The first thing is we're getting the GDP numbers. The GDP numbers are the Q1 GDP numbers, and the issue with this, with the Q1 GDP numbers, is that there's a massive disconnect between what the Atlanta Fed, which predicts a negative GDP, predicts, and what the market is actually predicting. So the Atlanta Fed predicts a negative 2.5. The New York Fed predicts a 2.63 positive. So these GDP numbers, it feels like nobody knows what's happening with the GDP numbers. So it's quite a big week because we'll get the GDP numbers. The only thing I'm torn about here is whether I want a positive GDP or a negative GDP. I think that for us as crypto people, we want a drop in interest rates, and therefore we want a negative GDP to come out on Wednesday to show a slowdown in the economy, so that Trump can go to Powell and say, look, the economy is slowing down. Soon people are going to start losing big jobs. You need to fix this shit. So I think that is what we want. That's coming out on Wednesday. There's the personal consumption expenditure, which is the measure of inflation that the Fed look at. That's also coming out on Wednesday. So quite a big week. And then also there's results. Now, again, I don't think results are such a big thing. This guy says it's going to be a wild week because of results. I don't think it's going to be such a big thing unless a lot of companies start missing their results. But I don't think that will happen, because I think that the tariff wars are actually not priced into these results. They're going to be priced into the next set of results. So I don't think that this is happening at the moment. The other thing that's happening this week, obviously, Token 2049, massive event. We know Eric Trump's coming. We're trying to get him to the banter party. If you are coming to the banter party, I'm going to be meeting him, I think tomorrow night or Thursday night. We'll try to get him to the thing. There's also going to be a lot of announcements, as you can see. And a lot of these announcements, you can actually see that some of the tokens have actually been running ahead of the announcements. And now the question is, if you're holding those tokens, do you get married to the tokens, or do you actually dump those tokens ahead of the Token 2049 announcements, right? So I want to answer all of those questions, and I want to start off with the first question. The first question is, if you're not exposed to the market right now, and you're seeing this move going up into Bitcoin, is this a good time to actually be buying, or to start buying Bitcoin and maybe even some of your favorite altcoins? And I think the straight answer for me is, if I look at Bitcoin and I look at where Bitcoins come from, and I look at the pace at which Bitcoins come from, effectively, if you look here on the 9th of April, we were at 74,000. We're now 30% up at 94,000, and it was a pretty straight line and a pretty aggressive move up. I mean, we're talking about a move that is how many days old? It's a move that's 2 weeks old. In the last 2 weeks, we've gained 30% on Bitcoin. Generally, someone says, how can we attend the banter party? If you're part of front runners, then there are invitations that are being sent out to front runners. So if you want to join the front runners group, join the front runners group. So you've got that, and if you look at the RSIs, specifically if you look at the daily RSIs, the RSIs are starting to get pretty high and pretty aggressive. So that's the RSIs, the 24-hour RSIs. You can see that a lot of these RSIs are starting to get pretty oversold on the daily. And for those of you who are trading the daily, someone says, can I come? Join front runners and you will be able to come. So if you look at the RSIs, which is the sentiment indicator or the momentum indicator, what you can see is you can pretty much see that the RSIs are pretty high at the moment. We've also had quite a lateral move up in Bitcoin. So when I look at this and I say, when something moves in 2 weeks, moves up 30% and really does it without a breather, at the same time, the RSIs are kind of saying to me, look, maybe on the weekly, I think on the weekly these would be a bit lower. Let's quickly look at the weekly. So you see on the weekly, if you're buying as a very long-term investor, then there may be some cool opportunities to actually be buying. But if you're buying this thing on the trade on the last 2 weeks, I mean, I think the RSIs are pretty high. Also, you know that no, Prince Andrew's not going to the party, and Epstein's also not coming to the party, unfortunately. I'm part of Sniper Club. If you were part of Sniper Club, there are some invitations that are being sent. So I also look at the fear and greed. And to me, I don't know if you remember, but when the fear and greed was at extreme fear, that is when I actually started to deploy money into the market. And I told you guys that my strategy, for me, the best strategy is to deploy at extreme greed, and to take profits to deploy at extreme fear and to take profits at extreme greed. Now, last week we got to greed for the first time. Yesterday we got to greed for the first time, and now we're sitting neutral. This is not a buying opportunity for me. Again, I think that if you're buying for the very, very, very long term and you're buying to hold for 2-3 years, then the truth is you can buy Solana now at $150. And in 2-3 years, you probably will forget about it. But the question is, will Solana come back down to like 135? Will ETH come back down to 1,650? So that is the question if you're trading this move short term. And to me, I think this move has been a little bit heated. I probably wouldn't enter the market right now unless there was some fundamental reason to enter the market right now. I don't think you should be buying right now, like what Darren says over here. On top of that, based on what the guys wrote this morning in Good Morning Crypto. Now, guys, if you haven't already subscribed to Good Morning Crypto, let me just quickly help you here. So Good Morning Crypto is a free, it's a free newsletter that we publish every single day. And it basically preempts what we're going to talk about on the show, right? So it pretty much talks about exactly what we're going to be talking about on the show. Literally, basically preempt, just go to this thing over here.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, some days you just look at the news.
Just go here. Just go to this thing over here. And what you'll see is that you will see that there is a newsletter, Good Morning Crypto and the Daily Candle. Good Morning Crypto literally gives you the news before I get the news here, before I get my show document. And then the Daily Candle just gives you 5 trades every single day, our top 5 conviction trades, and they're both free. So you can really go and just sign up for those things. Absolutely free. Okay, so let's talk about, based on what was written here, talking about when there is a time to actually dump some tokens, or when you should be taking profits on some tokens. And I want to talk about some of these, even though, for example, I love 𝗬𝗍, and in my long-term portfolio, which I dropped last week, I think 𝗬𝗍 is a great token to be holding in the long-term portfolio. It's kind of become the consensus play at the moment. It's almost like people have forgotten about ETH. ETH has become this token that no one is talking about anymore. And then you've got Bitcoin, then people are talking about Solana, and then they're talking about Hyperliquid and 𝗬𝗍. So let's talk a little bit about 𝗬𝗍. Love the token. I think it does need to be part of anyone's not everyone, but most people's long-term bags. In terms of where 𝗬𝗍 is at the moment, I mean, the token since the 21st of April, which is a whole, what is it today? 28th. So it's a week ago. So since the 21st of April, this token has gone up 80%. Why has it gone up 80%? Because there are a lot of announcements that are going to be made at 𝗬𝗍 Basecamp, which actually starts on the 1st of May. So it starts in 3 days, right? So some of the announcements that we're expecting an announcement with Pokemon, right? They're going to make some announcement with Pokemon. I think Pokemon is going to come to 𝗬𝗍 in some shape or form, which is a massive announcement. If you were in Front Runners, you would have known about that announcement ages ago. I think there's also going to be something to do with an ETF application for 𝗬𝗍. I think at the moment there's not very many ETF applications on 𝗬𝗍, but I think logically that there's going to be some ETF files. So those are the 2 announcements that I'm expecting this week for 𝗬𝗍. So, but I also think that if you look at if you look at the buy the rumor, sell the news type thing, generally the price drops after the event, right? And so you kind of want to be out of this token 24 to 48 hours before the event, which would kind of give you until, say, late tomorrow night to actually get out of this token if we follow the previous cycle. To me, if you've taken this trade, you've got yourself an 80% in the last couple of days, you know there's an event coming, you know these events are usually sell the news events, take a little bit of profit. I wouldn't touch the long-term bags. Forget about the long-term bags. The long-term bags, we keep our tokens inside the long-term bags. But in the short-term bags, don't be scared to take a little bit of profit if you actually caught this trade and you made 80%. Then after that, you've got Sonic. So Sonic from the bottom, from the 9th of April, is actually up about 40%. Remember, they also have an event coming up between the 6th and the 8th of May in Austria, which gives us about 10 days, more or less 10 days here to get some gains here. I do think that Sonic could still have a bit of a run. I think we could go, if the market continues to stay where it is, if it doesn't start coming down too badly, I do think that Sonic could actually go up ahead of its event. But I'd probably on the 5th of May, or maybe the 6th of May, I would be out of this token, because remember, it's a buy the rumor, sell the news event. That's usually what happens with all of these things. Same thing with hold on, let me just find it for you here. I see the Sonic trade was actually called, I called it in Front Runners. I think Joe actually called it in Front Runners as well. I think if Sonic runs, just by the way, I think Sonic's going to have an amazing run, but I also think you can look at Anon, which I also posted in Front Runners the other day. The reason is, Anon fits into the narrative of Sonic and it fits into the narrative of AI agents. And when I take the narrative of Sonic and I take the narrative of AI agents, and I kind of look at the bubbles, you just need to take like a very quick look at the bubbles and you say, okay, look, you can kind of see the AI narrative and the AI agents are starting to run. You got virtuals, which is now back in the top 100. I want to actually just quickly show you the chart. Let's look at the 1 week chart. So virtuals up 113% in a week. That shows you that the AI narrative is not dead at the moment, right? And so when I say there's a conference coming up and there's an AI narrative coming up, which token actually plays into both the AI narrative and into Sonic, and that for me is 𝗙𝗔𝗄𝗏. And so for me, 𝗙𝗔𝗄𝗏, probably a good one to buy here at $5.20. Again, if you think the market continues to run, but I wouldn't be rushing into any entries right now because, as I said, I do think that it's time to actually, it's not a good time to be actually buying the market. Next one that I would look at is Trump, right? So you've got the Trump token. That Trump token, if you manage to catch the trade, is up, I think about 100%. It's up it's up exactly 100%. I would now be looking to almost offload some of these Trump tokens. Why? Because the snapshot for who's actually going to the Trump dinner is happening pretty soon. So here is the leaderboard, and you can see right now Justin Sun, of course Justin Sun is on the leaderboard because he would do anything to have dinner with Trump. So remember, it works on a time-weighted average. So right now, they're going to take this snapshot, and unless they do something immediately after, then I do think that this token lands up dumping. People actually land up dumping these tokens. And I think that this was actually created for the team to actually quietly exit some tokens. So I think that they got everybody else to lock up their tokens, and then they dump some of their tokens just to get some kind of liquidity. So again, watch out for the sell on Trump token over here. And again, all of these, if you're not in them, they could actually be a shorting opportunity. So you can actually create a shorting opportunity. The other one is WorldCoin. So WorldCoin also had an insane run if you actually caught it. This one is like so predictable. Every time that there is a WorldCoin conference, every time there's a WorldCoin conference, token goes up about 100%. And then if you look at what happens exactly afterwards, bang, 2 days before the thing tops, and 2 days before the thing starts actually coming down again. So you probably missed the pump, but you could probably catch the dump at the end of this WorldCoin conference. Researchers, just send me when the WorldCoin conference, the WorldCoin conference details. I mean, listen, while we're here and while we're degenning, I do want to talk to you about two tokens that I mean, I've always had them into my long-term bags, but I've kind of doubled down on them. One of them is Aerodrome. So let me quickly just go and show you why I'm so bullish Aerodrome. So I know that Aerodrome is the biggest DEX on Base. I don't really believe very much in ETH, but the one part of ETH that I actually do believe in is actually Base. I think like the whole of ETH can fail, but Base can actually succeed. And I actually even think that if ETH completely fails, they will eventually migrate the Base chain to either to become its own chain or something like that. I see the internet in this hotel is very slow. By the way, can you guess which hotel I'm staying in? You guys did a very good. You did it very well last time. So let me see if you guys can guess where I'm staying. Anyway, I can't, for some reason it won't let me open this chart very quickly. Let's just see if I can do it again. Okay, wait. So the researchers are saying the WorldCoin conference is. Oh, it's already happened. It says April 30th. April 30th. Okay. April 30th in San Francisco. So that is on Wednesday. So Wednesday in San Francisco is the WorldCoin conference if you want that. So Aerodrome, I do believe that Base may not succeed or ETH may not succeed, but Base will always succeed because Base is Coinbase and Coinbase won't let Coinbase fail, Base fail. And so I think that a good trade is actually to hold some Aerodrome as a proxy for Base. It has gone up a little bit. I mean, it's gone up from 30 to 60 cents, but just look at where this thing was when things were actually happening on Base. This thing was at about $2.50, which means you still got like a 4x from here if this thing goes on. So I must say, I added at about this price last week, and I actually added pretty aggressively, right? I actually added pretty aggressively here on Base. And again, why? Because AI narrative, big, and trading dexes. I always buy the dex chain, so that's another one that I think might actually do well. Monero, I think you guys have missed the short on Monero. Unfortunately, I think you guys pretty much missed that short on Monero. It was a good short earlier. If you guys were on the front runners research call, I think you guys would have caught it. And then the other one that I'm like, again, I keep adding to my long-term portfolio is Radium. The reason why I'm so bullish Radium is because, you know, Pump.Fund took them on by launching their own DEX. And so what Radium did was they kind of launched their own Pump.Fund competitor, and their Pump.Fund competitor is actually getting a lot of traction. So if I look at Radium right now is, I think, about 100% up from the bottom. Let's just quickly have a look here. Yeah, it's about 100%, 111% up from the bottom. One that I keep adding, but again, just look at the RSIs here. Look at the RSIs here. So not something that I would be running to get into very, very, very quickly. Yeah, you may have noticed that I keep talking about all these things that are happening at front runners. Guys, I'm going to give you this for 24 hours only. I'm going to give you the 1 month. Try it for a month. If you don't like it for a month, email me that you didn't enjoy it, that you didn't get the alpha, that you didn't make your money back. And if you subscribed in the next 24 hours, then I will give you your money back. Basically, I'll just refund you your money back. So you can actually do it. Someone says, oh yeah, Tate Tower. No, but I know that Andrew Tate is here. I know that he actually is here in Dubai. Yeah, a lot of you asking how the polo went yesterday. So, well, let me say this. It was the fastest polo game that I've ever played in my life. You cannot imagine the speed of this polo game. I actually want to see if I can get you guys some videos quickly. You cannot imagine the speed of this polo game. For someone, I mean, we were playing against pros. We were playing against like an amazing team. We lost the game, but I guess we won the crowd. And I mean, for me personally, playing so fast was actually, I want to see if I can get you guys a video so that you guys can actually see how we did yesterday. 1 second, let's see if we can do this quickly. Hold on, let me try and get you guys 1 or 2 videos. The game was super fucking fast. You can't even imagine a game that was actually this fast. So here is the welcome.
We have in at number 2, Radium. Wow, local favorite, Random. And number 3, let's hear it for Arthur.
Okay, now, I mean, the one thing I can say to you guys is it was so hot in Dubai. I don't know if you can even imagine playing polo in 42-degree weather. It was 42 degrees out there. You cannot imagine the intense heat of actually playing in this heat. If you go to my Instagram. So on my Instagram is @CryptoManRun. Just go and have a look at my Instagram here. And I think there's a few stories from the polo. That's Theo. She's our HR, our recruiter. She's an absolute beast. That's of course the thing. That's just warming up. Just getting some shots, just warming up on the game, and then these are shots of the actual game, which was okay. I think just go and have a look on my Instagram. There's a whole lot of stuff on my Instagram. Anyway, listen, I'm gonna try and bring you guys a couple of shows here while I'm here. I'm not gonna bring a show on the day of Token 2049, and the following day I may actually go to base camp, and so I may bring you guys later shows or whatever. Someone says, imagine what the horses felt like. It was hectic. It was absolutely hectic. Anyway, I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.